And we're live. Hola. It's a little past my bedtime. But yesterday we did I did the live, and I said I'm committed to this and sticking to it. So here I am, day 12 of my 30-day live challenge. And just a quick recap: I'm using live to practice getting comfortable in front of the camera. Really, less so the camera specifically, but just getting more comfortable with verbal communications, because I have historically I've been much more comfortable writing than I have been jumping in front of video or jumping in front of the camera or public speaking. So it was the advice I was given was go live for 30 days and practice. That's how you're going to get better at it. So here I am, day 12, and I'm going to do just I think for the next few days I'm going to jump on and talk about some of the lessons that I learned, or some of the mistakes that I made when I started consulting and coaching and doing fractional work from Baja. And when I think back on when I started my business and when I started doing fractional work and contract work and coaching, consulting, one of the if I had this to do over again, one of the things I would do is I would get really clear on what I was doing first, which sounds super obvious in hindsight, obviously, but for me anyway, and I know some of my friends have done this too. You kind of get burnt out on the corporate life. You have an opportunity and you jump out and you want to get into consulting, or you basically want to go into business for yourself. And so you jump out, and you don't necessarily treat it like a business. And I know I didn't. And the interesting thing for me is, I've been building businesses, and so it wasn't a matter of not knowing how to treat this like a business. It was just a matter of not doing it, not applying the same things that I know are necessary to build a business in my own kind of solopreneur freelancing kind of role. So when I reflect back on it, and I think if there were a few things that I would change, the first one that I'll hit on tonight is I would define more clearly exactly what I was building, and I would define more clearly what my vision was. I would get more clarity to myself first about what exactly I was trying to build. And what I mean by that is, I knew that I wanted to leverage my experience. I knew, I'd been in a CEO role, I'd been head of sales, I'd built some digital businesses, so I had some experience that I thought was going to be valuable. I had a pretty good network that I thought I could tap to get clients, and that's about as far as I went with planning, candidly. And so I'm sure if you're thinking about getting into consulting or coaching or anything like that, you kind of the first thing you do is look at, what's the skill set that I have, what's the value that I can add, and then you go, okay, like who can I who can I get to be a client? And the way that I would do this is, if I had it to do again, is the exact same way that I would consult an entrepreneur that was considering starting a business, and I would say, get clear on your vision first. Get clear on exactly what you're building first. Get clear on a handful of things. And I'll chat about a couple of more the next couple of days. But more than anything, getting clear on whether I was building a business or whether I was building a job to be self-employed. And there is no right answer. Either one is perfectly fine. Like when I retired from corporate America and went out on my own, I could have decided to build a business. I could have decided to build kind of just a book of business for myself to be self-employed. So a job, and either of those would have been perfectly fine. But not having real clarity, um, not being not having the vision of exactly like planning it out, and whether it's a business plan or a business model, basically meant I was doing it all. I was doing a little bit of entrepreneurship, I was doing a little bit of solopreneurship, I was doing some freelancing, I was doing some contract work, I was doing some. And if outside looking in, I would tell any entrepreneur that's out there just basically trying to get business, that's not the way that you're going to build a successful business. So I would get really clear on am I building a business or am I building a job? And um, and then I would think, you know, like if I'm going into consulting, am I in the advising business? Like, am I giving advice and then leaving it up to clients to execute, or am I building a done for you type of operation? Because those are very different too. Like being a consultant and being an advisor is one thing. When you get into the business of doing work for clients, like the done for you work, that's more of an agency. So it's part of it's a matter of, am I building a business? Am I building like my own operation? And then like the next layer deep is, am I creating something where I'm going to be advising my clients, consulting my clients, or am I going to be like actually executing the work? And again, like there is no right answer. There is no wrong answer. But it is, you can't not have clarity on what you're actually going out to do. You have to treat it just like a business, even though you're the product and you're the service. I was the product and I was the service. Treating it that way and developing it the way that I would develop any other business is really the first thing I would do. So not having clarity, I ended up basically doing all of it. I was doing some consulting, some advising, some done for you work, some freelancing. And then I would think about it, I'm like, God, I'm really trying to build a business here and I need to build something that scales. And I would go back and forth quite a bit. And the mistake in that, at least for me, was the first thing is it made it very difficult to use the work that I was doing to get more work. So if I'm basically if I'm consulting one client and I'm just doing advising for that client. And somebody else comes along and says, we want you to actually do some fractional work. We want you to actually execute, kind of like an agency or a fractional executive. It's very difficult to use the case studies and the experience from one thing to the next because they're not directly related. So that was one problem in not getting really clear about the vision in what I was building. Um, the other thing it did was it slowed down my learning curve. Like the one that I have found is, now that I've gotten really clear on who I'm working with and what I'm doing and the type of work, is the rate at which I'm learning from my clients while I'm applying what I know is exponential. And I'm able to take that learning to the next client, to the next client. And it helps me get the work and it helps me do better work. And that's not necessarily the case if you're doing 15 different things for 15 different types of clients. The It also made me more inefficient, from a business standpoint. Like it made it difficult to hire people. So if I have 5 different clients and I'm doing 5 different types of work, and I want to go hire somebody to help me out, like what kind of person do I hire? And whereas if you're doing the same type of work, or at least a similar scope of work, and it's really clear on the type of client that you have and the type of work that you're executing, you can start to productize that to a certain degree. And when I need help executing, I can say, okay, like, what are the specific things that I need done? Let's go find somebody that's really good at doing that. And when it's all just a mishmash of stuff, how do you hire somebody that's going to be able to help you do that? They have to be really versatile. They have to, to be able to do all the different things that you're executing for your clients. So makes it really challenging to grow. Makes it challenging to use the work that you're doing and the clients that you're working with to get other clients. Makes the case studies that you're developing, like, even if you do really great work for someone, and you have a case study, if you're not doing that same type of work all the time, that case study may not even be applicable to the next person that you're talking to. So the lesson that I learned, like lesson number one, was get really clear on what it is that you're building, and specifically, are you building a business, or are you building like something for you to be self-employed? Because doing both is really difficult, and the actions to do one aren't necessarily the actions to do the other, and it can slow down the progress. It can make you really inefficient. It can make it harder to grow, if you're not clear on that at the very beginning. So that is my first lesson. I'll share a couple more. I've written down a few more that I'll share over the next couple of days. that I've learned from consulting. So hopefully that helps you in some way if you're thinking about consulting, coaching, freelancing, or building something on your own. Other than that, I think that's all I got. So look forward to talking to you tomorrow, and thanks for listening.